alive and in charge, and we're
back to the OG crew, episode 39, Sad Dad's Club podcast.
Shouldn't this be 39B?
B?
Something like
for
that.
For betas.
39-1. Folks, sometimes you record a show, and
things happen.
Things happen.
Shit happens.
Stuff does happen.
It's the first one.
Yeah.
And right? You're
Yeah.
always, I think, rolling the dice, like, what happens if? And we're not a show that has, like, cans of episodes in the bank.
No, we record and post that day.
Right.
And the way we record is it's a one-shot record. When you listen to us, you listen to an unedited show.
Yeah.
Other than maybe some trim on the ends that we didn't intend to be in the show.
One take.
It's a one-shot go. We edit the show and add in our music and stuff.
Yeah.
And then it gets posted as quickly as we can after the show
in
is
the raw.
recorded.
The only thing that would make it more raw would be for us to be totally naked.
Oh, to record it live?
As opposed to half naked.
God.
Yeah.
Well, that would be a different show.
Right. Right.
Absolutely.
Right. You can find us on those other channels. We have Pornhubs or something.
Yeah. Sad
Dad's Club
porn dads.
Yeah.
Sad porn dads.
Sad porn dads.
Which Tony could help us with.
Right. Right. Yes.
Absolutely.
So Tony, Mr. Overbay, who stepped in while I was out with the family and friends overseas, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you. Hashtag hi Tony. Hashtag Mr. Overbay.
And one of these days you guys will meet.
Right.
I mean, we joked around last night that you were Tony's replacement.
Right.
To a certain
right.
degree.
Having listened to your Mac stories.
Yeah.
And the first episode.
Yeah.
And then, because we listened to it in the car. We had downloaded it.
On foreign soil?
On foreign soil. Also, I think you guys covered it in the second episode.
Uh-huh.
The Apple podcast, for me, while overseas, it was a split from iTunes. So I had to download the Apple Podcasts app and look for Sad Dad's Club Podcast in the podcast app. It was not something I could find in iTunes on the iPad mini. So
I believe on iOS it's a separate deal.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was that's where I had to find it. So for some people who are on the Mac ecosystem and on an iOS device, that has definitely happened.
Yeah.
You are, unless you're syncing it from your iTunes on your Mac.
It's been that while on iOS for a while.
So for me, it was
that was new for you,
right?
Because you hadn't been,
right?
You've been doing Android,
right? Which is not that far different from what we ran into and have run into with some of our complaints with the Google Play.
Yeah,
Google Play also splintered off a strictly podcast app where it's much easier to find.
Isn't that the Google Podcast app now?
They're both named podcasts.
Yeah, Apple Podcasts or whatever.
So inventive and imaginary.
Right. Well, you kind of.
So it wasn't. Now they both have their own separate dedicated podcasts, and that's where I found it. So, getting back to the Tony.
Yeah.
We listened to it first, and it wasn't until we had got back on Wi-Fi where I ended up downloading it or catching when you uploaded the YouTube. I went, the fuck? Motherfucker looks like me. Not only did you find a stunt co-host, but you found one who I look like him or he looked like me.
He's older than you, so I think...
that motherfucker. Stunt co-host.
Yeah.
Jim just goes out through his life just looking for a replacement for his overbay needs.
Just looking for bald white guys that are be friends with me. Will you be friends with me, bald white guy?
I don't keep in contact with Tony, so I found a replacement. It's food.
Tony and I, it's funny because he's one of those people for me, and I know everybody kind of has one of these people in their life, but Tony and I cannot see each other for a couple of years, and that happens. But when we do see each other, it's like we just pick up where we left off, like a couple of dumb shits, and it's like nothing nothing happened. There was no time that went by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you could tell.
Yeah.
Like in the rambling and the stories between you two.
Yeah.
No script needed, and you could tell that you had been buddies.
Well, funny thing about that, because we had some discussions prior. Well, we knew for weeks that you were leaving,
right?
And so I knew for a week. I knew immediately when I knew you guys were leaving. I knew who I was going to get to help co-host the show, because I don't think I could run a show effectively on my own. I mean, I probably could, but
it would just be different.
It would be a different show. Right. But I knew immediately, okay, I'm going to have Tony co-host. First of all, he's got his own podcast. He's used to being on the mic.
So he would know the format. Yeah.
Well, and he listens to the show, and he's funny as shit.
Oh yeah.
So
we were all laughing in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like we had to get used to the humor. It was stunt co-host.
Yeah.
Yeah, he fit right in.
So, so we'll have to have him on the show as a guest.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think he'd be fun. He's very deadpan with his jokes. Man, there's a couple times during a couple, like I can remember at least two times on each show where he would ask somebody a question, like myself or Chandler.
Right.
And he would ask them a question, and as soon as they started to answer the question, he would go to the other person and be like, "So anyway," like he didn't even give a shit about the answer, and that shit just slays me.
That's cute. I like your story, but anyway. So as we were mentioning before, when we left each other's balls in the luggage,
exactly.
Like, I don't really.
Yeah.
Yes, the non sequitur and like the deadpan humor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's really good at that stuff, and so. Hey, I just realized your light's not on there.
No, it's not.
Okay. Anyway, so yeah, that was kind of fun, but nice to get back to the regular format.
Yeah.
And glad to have you back. And I'm kind of bummed that we recorded an entire show with a guest last night.
So we had Mike here last night.
Yeah.
We went through a really great show. We even had a peanut gallery for the bulk of it. It was hot as sin, as the seventh circle of hell.
It is so much nicer tonight.
So, and then when I went to go save, because I'm owning it, when I went to go save, the GarageBand thing just went.
Yeah, by all of the audio waveform.
Yeah, it retained the timestamps. So we had an hour and 4 minutes of vapor.
It showed the length of the record, but nothing
was there. And everyone was kind of like, we had all stepped away from the table. I'm going through the motions of like, I save it here. Then I save it. I'm getting ready to plug your storage in so you can take it. And Venus, my wife, had like the look of like, something has definitely fucked this day.
Jason is not...
Yeah, and everyone went, what happened? Happy. And Venus is like, something's not right in Coopersville.
I mean, normally I'd hop in there, but I knew that you were...
Right, yeah.
And I didn't want to... I mean, I waited a little bit because I wanted to see if there was
hoping.
But stuff happens. We had a whole show. We actually have the video. We have all the audio. The audio that we have of the show that we were going to try and salvage the show with the audio from the video cameras.
Right. Yeah.
And the audio quality from the video cameras is not so good.
Yeah. It's not in
which I have an idea for that.
Okay.
That we will talk about after the show.
Okay. All right.
But I think we can actually fix that and get it actually at least onto one camera.
Okay.
But so we were going to try and salvage the show. We were going to export the audio out of the video files and try and sweeten it. But the quality of the audio that was coming off the cameras is just not good enough, and it had a bunch of pops and clicks in it.
Yeah.
And so we just said, you know what?
It's just easier to. I'll have the homie over and we'll record it.
Yeah,
it's not really a hardship.
No, it's
and when you produce a product like we have been for 38 episodes.
Yep.
That you have like an expectation of
quality.
this. Yeah, and that's generally it. And it was
Yeah.
like, well, we could just re-record it.
Like the post on Twitter said, quality over compromise, and I felt like if we went down the path of using some crap audio from
Right.
the cameras, then we weren't going to be putting out something we were proud of.
Exactly.
And
I'm like, well, and then what kind of lesson would that be for the kids? Especially, like, why half-ass it?
Yeah, that's true.
Come on over at 7 and we'll fucking do it again. And oh my God, we have to talk about fun shit and make giggles.
And be friends.
Yeah.
That's...
you got to get your ass out of here by 8 o'clock because everyone's got an appointment over at Overbay's office.
Well, that was something interesting, actually, talking about that, was that second week that you guys were gone.
Yeah.
That Record Wednesday, so a week and a day ago, was 103, I think, outside.
Yeah.
So doing what we're doing right now, which is Sad Dad's Club Studio in the garage, would have been like yesterday, but worse.
But worse, yeah.
And so Tony, being a licensed family therapist, has an office space that he has access to, conference rooms.
Right.
And he's like, come on over, I'll buy pizza. And it's like, that's a no-brainer. An air-conditioned conference room and pizza?
Pudding and money? Well, who turns that shit down?
Right, yeah.
Nobody.
No one that you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
I can see how we'll end up in a awkward place the next time it gets hot. We'll have to figure something out.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
I know. It's like, and I think about it. I mean, like my house, I don't have a very big house.
And we would always be fighting jacks, either barking,
right,
or scratching something to try and get at us.
Yeah, and that's a tough one. We don't have a good place to go,
No.
So it's like we're just gonna have to grunt and bear it.
And Venus had asked. She's like, "Well, what if we put a swamp cooler or something in here?" I'm like, "Well, then we're gonna have the
yeah
of the fans."
There's always a compromise.
Yeah, something we'll have to.
Well, I think the first week, I don't know if it was noticeable or not, but we had a couple fans in the garage. It was more in that week too. Yeah.
I don't think I noticed.
Yeah. So just kind of blowing on the floor from the back of the garage out.
Yeah.
And then we have same kind of deal what you've got, except a drop down ladder in our garage.
Yeah.
So one of the things I did was I opened that up because heat
rises,
so it draws air into the garage and up and out.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it helped or not, but it was at
better
least
than nothing.
Better try that than nothing at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it's hot, I mean, yesterday I was sweating.
Yeah,
I was sweating.
So see,
last night.
I feel like we were both hot, sweaty messes. Perhaps there's some.
Maybe that's what happened to GarageBand, was hot and sweaty, and it just was like, I can't do it, bro.
No, I want no part of this, sir. Yeah. I'm done with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what was you have something you wanted to?
Yes. So we waited till the last part of the episode last night, but so relative to our trip, I wanted to make a direct public thank you to Angie. Angie and Venus both together, but Angie doing most of the heavy lifting, did most of the planning, pre-purchasing, coordinating. As far as the itinerary goes, Angie had all of it by the balls.
So, what was the longest you stayed in any one place? So, I mean, you
probably Isle of Man.
Okay.
At a homestay.
So, like 3 or 4 nights or something?
I want to say 3 nights.
So, you were moving around a lot then.
Yeah.
So, a lot of coordination involved.
Absolutely.
Getting hotels.
Homestays or a hotel or a rental car. Ferries.
Yeah.
Train tickets.
Yeah.
We did planes, trains, automobiles.
So, she pre-bought all the tickets and stuff?
Whatever that could be.
Oh, okay.
In most cases was.
Okay.
And we did some stuff there at the tail end, like the train tickets, and I think our last hotel was play it by ear, because we had a relatively fluid schedule just in case we wanted to change something up.
Yeah.
But she had all of that working in the back. And, not everything was turnkey. Mm-hmm. There was multiple spots where we had to make some choices. But it was all on her, and it was all fine. It was more better than fine. It was fantastic.
Awesome.
So thank you, Dragon. #HiDragon. Thank you, Dragon.
Yes, absolutely.
And thank you, Venus, because I know she helped with homestay stuff too. But like I said, Angie did a lot.
That's super helpful when you're, especially when you're out of the country, to have someone who's got the experience and the,
It was, and a lot of that stuff too. So before we, there's like all kinds of pre-stories before I even get to the actual awesomeness that was the trip. Mm-hmm. So part of the new stuff for me as a traveler, and listening to you, how much globetrotting you and Tony did, most of my travel has all been within the States. Mm-hmm. And always in a hotel wherever I was going, right, or to Hawaii timeshare, but generally it's a timeshare or a hotel. With kids, there's generally always also a checked bag.
I think that goes with the territory,
right?
Yeah.
This trip. And Venus, having traveled with Angie before, along with Sarah, to Mexico, Angie does one bag, and it's your carry-on, the thing that you're chucking in the bin up above you, and then whatever you may have as a personal backpack thing that you can chuck under the seat.
If I understand correctly, you basically did that for a 2-week trip.
That is correct.
That's impressive.
And minus part of the disclaimer there is that we didn't obviously have kids, so I think it may have been slightly different if us as Venus and I as parents had to pack extra stuff for the kids, because our bags were in some ways almost as tall, if not the 75% of the weight of Xander. I wouldn't expect him to be able to handle that much weight on him. So then you get into, well, if daddy or mommy has to pack or pack mule some of the kids' stuff, then that doesn't apply anymore.
I don't know, man, because I can't go to Vegas without taking a giant suitcase for a week-long trade show.
So what also happens so we use it's like things went into a bag that you could
compression bags.
Compress, yeah. I took 3 pairs. My bag was done before we, well packed before we left. Mm-hmm. And I had space left. And what I found is I had packed 3 pairs of pants, 2 pairs of jeans, and a pair of tactical pants that were really baggy that I wore on the plane. Mm-hmm. Since I wasn't dealing with an infant that would make mess on my pants, I found that my original pair of jeans and the tactical pants that I wore on the plane were fine. And obviously, for the most part, you're not wearing jeans or washing jeans every day anyway.
Yeah.
My jeans,
pants don't get dirty.
Yeah, I wore my jeans generally every day.
As a general rule of thumb, I don't think pants ever get dirty.
We had, your undergarments, you're taking your dailies. But also because we weren't in a hotel, but a homestay, when we needed to make a load of laundry, you could do that. Yeah. So about halfway through the trip when we started mailing stuff back, because obviously, without a check bag, we couldn't bring loot along with us as we went.
Sure.
So we mailed stuff back.
Oh, clothes and stuff?
Yeah. Oh. Well, we were mailing back, I want to say loot, but, souvenirs and trinkets and ding-dongs.
Loot. So stuff that wouldn't fit in your bag.
Right.
Okay.
And somewhere about halfway, I mailed back the pair of jeans that I just wasn't wearing to clear out space from my back. I'm like, why am I schlepping this around?
You're not wearing them?
So once I had started to realize the method to the system, it was like, I already packed too much. I shipped back the pair of jeans and a sweater that I wasn't wearing because we were doing laundry. Uh-huh. And I realized if I need something, we budgeted for, if you need it, you can buy it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
it works. It absolutely works. I'd be hard pressed to ever travel in a different way.
Yeah.
Going forward.
Now, granted, when I go to Vegas, I got to take a shirt for each day. A clean
Right.
shirt.
Now, as for
plus change of
for
clothes.
a corporate thing,
Yeah.
I think that's different.
Yeah.
You know, you're not. You know, some of the clothes that I was wearing were obviously very casual. Most of it was like compression stuff or, with the wicking kind of thing. So they were lightweight and they packed really small.
Yeah.
If I had to pack 2 weeks worth of polo shirts and slacks, that probably would not, and a belt, that probably wouldn't work. But for 2 weeks, an overhead bin size pack thing, we did fine.
Now, if you're the naked cowboy in New York City,
oh yeah,
all you have to do is find a place for your guitar,
yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah,
and you're all set to go. So,
and we ended up in this. I don't remember what place it was, but it was a smaller, like, hop flight. And they made us take our backpacks and make sure it fit the overhead size thing. And there was a little bit of a struggle for that.
Uh-huh.
But it was one of those, like, hold this while I, so some of it,
Yeah.
But our packs fit generally everywhere we went.
So the packs were sort of like hiking packs?
Yeah, Ospreys.
Okay.
And
I have a similar
the amount
pack.
of people we saw abroad, specifically, like your quick hoppers, that Osprey is very, very popular.
Huh.
I saw a number of Osprey stuff in the overhead bins. Not uncommon.
Did you get it at REI?
I think my wife bought mine from Amazon, but we looked at them at REI.
Yeah.
They have them at REI.
Yeah, they got tons of nice packs there.
Very popular.
Yeah. I had to buy a pack because Scouts, when Chandler was in Scouts.
Right.
So I have a nice, I don't even know what brand it is.
Yeah.
But REI purchase kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of things, too. So something that I don't think I'd ever considered. When we travel like Tahoe or something, usually I'm taking like a jacket, to try and compress a jacket or a hoodie.
Yeah.
When you're wearing layers, and it would start to rain or something, you're packing like a shell that like compresses into like a large snowball type of thing.
Yeah.
And you're good to go. The concept where, I have a rain jacket, but a shell thing.
The shell will block the wind and keep you dry.
Right. And, you can
as long
dangle
as you got
it.
enough other clothes underneath,
you
you're
could dangle
warm.
it from a belt or, I had a sling bag for the bulk of the trip.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just clip it to there. Was it cumbersome and kind of annoying? Yeah, but I would not have wanted to schlep around, a parka type of thing that would protect me from the wind and just in case it rained or,
Yeah.
just very new to me, and it all worked. There wasn't any place where I was like, this seems like a dumb concept. I don't know how I would apply this to anything else. It was all like, fuck, I've been doing this wrong for a while.
Yeah. Well,
like I said, though, with kids.
Yeah. Well, you had
diapers
you hadn't really done much of that kind of traveling. That's a different style traveling, I think, and probably fairly common for people who are sort of cruising around the European area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So seems like that would be I saw a lot of people with backpacks there. Just packing around and taking trains and doing whatever.
When you were doing those conventions and whatnot, did you like disperse from the event, or were you generally always like milling around the locale? Like, did you get to try the different forms of transportation that those places had to offer? And
so, for instance, like Tokyo, we would stay downtown Tokyo, and then we would have to take the train out, or basically, which is the subway system.
Right.
Take the train out from downtown out to I think it's called the Makuhari Mess, which is the big convention hall there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like literally you passed, which was kind of cool. You passed Tokyo Disneyland on the train.
Oh.
It's like, hey, there's Tokyo Disneyland. And then the next stop was like the Makuhari Mess, which is the big trade. Something wrong?
It blipped. Check.
Hello?
It's recording.
Okay.
Check. Okay. There's a small gap.
Oh, weird. But you would, you would go to the show for the day and then get back on the train and ride it back in the city. But you were with, we were with like our Japanese rep. So then we would always have meetings with some company, and we would be in some part of the city we'd never been and go to dinner somewhere weird. So you were always, you didn't spend a lot of time around the hotel. You were out and about.
Always moving.
And then it was like you came back to the hotel kind of late at night, whether you might have gone karaokeing or something like that. And then you're coming back and then crashing and doing it all again in the next day. Something like that.
Have you, okay, so we ran into these new things at a couple of the airports, and they were essentially like a cabin, very small cabin with like just room for a bed. It was like a quick stay thing. Were those around for you when you were doing those?
Not in the airports, but you know where it was popular was in Japan. They had those like sort of capsule hotels.
Yes, that's yeah.
Where it's like you rent literally just a thing, and you're like, it's almost like a morgue. Where you like
they were very
very small little.
There wasn't like a bed, and it was like a really glamorous tent kind of thing. I mean, but in a box.
Okay.
But there's a shower, toilet, but you're looking right at the shower and the toilet from the bed. There's no couch and something on a TV on a thing.
So that's at the hotel at the airport, though.
I'm trying to remember which airport. We had 2 of those that were that style. Very comfortable.
Yeah.
And it was in and out, but it was enough for us to like take a break.
For 2 people?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
like a really big twin. I don't know if it was a queen, but
right.
enough to crash as needed.
Maybe like a double or something.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, because we had 2 of them. I don't remember what the airport was. But very convenient.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, what a concept.
Well, yeah, that's great if you're if you've got a layover or something like that, and you just need a place to crash.
Yeah.
I know Data's girlfriend just came back also from New York, and she got caught in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Her flight was late, and they missed her connector by 10 minutes, and she had to sleep in the airport. So, considering that kind of stuff happens a lot.
Wow. Was she compensated in any way?
No, because it was weather related.
Oh.
Yeah. So it wasn't mechanical or something they could do anything about.
Well.
I had a similar thing happen to me one time when I was flying through Minnesota.
Yeah.
Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
It was snowing like crazy. That was the flight coming in. Literally look out the window and it's just like sideways snow.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like the approach was forever. You hear the engines and I'm just like, oh my God, we're going to die. And we finally land and it's just the entire airport is just covered in snow. And when we get off the plane, they close the airport down. So because they closed the airport, that allowed them to give us a room. So we got a room. But I think if they just canceled flights because of weather, it was different. But they closed the airport.
Oh,
so because it was a man-made
closure
situation and not a wet. I mean, typically, I mean, it was a man-made situation from the weather, but because the weather didn't cancel flights, the airport closed. That allowed them to give us a room. It was really weird. But then I had to get up the next morning and bus back to the airport and get on a flight. But that was one of the weirdest things ever, because I was like, but it's weather, Yeah. Like, I'm surprised they're not making us sleep in the airport, literally. But that happens.
Yeah, our because I think over in the UK, if you're late, you get compensations somehow.
Oh, regardless
of man or.
I want to say it might be the difference between like U.S. airlines and
The UK.
Yeah, British airlines
overseas.
or European airlines. Yeah. Depends on where they're based out of and run from.
Yeah.
Because like here in the U.S., it's weird because you have like a passenger bill of rights or something, but it doesn't afford you everything. I don't know. And like airlines can cancel your ticket on you. It's in overbook flights, right? And
Right.
And like force you out of a seat so someone else can fly. I don't understand how.
All of our stuff was pretty packed.
Full flights?
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah.
The last hop coming over, because we had talked about our last, what was it, out of Sweden. It was a one-shot deal into Oakland, so it was a biggie, a big plane. And we had been sitting in the airport, kind of just going through photos, milling around. We were there early.
Yeah.
And we're watching the signs every once in a while, and it had already been delayed because it came from somewhere that was delayed. And Angie had gotten up to use the restroom, and she comes back, and like they had been lined up over there for quite some time. I'm like, man, it's been delayed like 2 hours. What?
Why are they lining up?
Why is anyone lining up? Like we still got like an hour and change to go, but then the line looks like it's getting small. And Angie comes back and she goes, "The sign says final call, final boarding."
Oh shit!
And we're all four of us are looking at each other like, well, that's bullshit because they've been delayed an hour, and we haven't heard anything.
That's
over
weird.
the intercom at all. So we're like, well, it says final, so fuck it, all right. So we pack up and we walk over there, and sure as shit, in like that chunk of the terminal, there was people in a line, and they were all standing in front of the terminal, and was like, oh fuck, all right. So we get up to this guy, and the three of us are.
And you're like, flight to Oakland.
Yeah, boarding pass, whatnot, and he goes through the Venus steps up first, and guy pulls him aside and her aside, and it's the questions that I can't quite hear. Puts a little sticker on her thing and like moves her forward to like a boarding pass lady and pulls me up, asks me the same question. They were all questions about whether or not we had counterfeit or contraband or illegal Apple devices, or we were smuggling or doing something with. Have you bought any new products? I'm like, well, technically it's pretty new, but I didn't buy it here. Like the third degree about whether or not we were stuffing.
Did you go goatsy on him and show him?
Yeah, I'm like, you want to see my iPad?
I got $130,000 worth of iPads in my keys.
It won't fit my backpack. I got to put it in my prison wallet.
Yeah, that's right, my prison wallet.
Damn it. Let us go, only to then get to the next person who then did the actual boarding pass scanning and passport cross-check.
That was it was like a questioning?
Right, which came after the customs check as to, hi, welcome. Are you
welcome
leaving,
to Sweden?
Thanks for enjoying Sweden. Did you enjoy your stay? Yeah, whatever. Thanks for the... Anyway.
Do I get a chocolate now?
The jam and the and the scone. So we then get to the boarding pass lady.
Yeah.
And it's bursting with people up to the boarding pass lady. There's no more room to put people in this space.
Okay.
And she, does the boarding pass, takes the passport, cross-check, okay. And I take one step, and I'm still shoulder to shoulder with the boarding pass lady, and I'm like,
nowhere for me to go.
Where do you want me to go?
Yeah. By the way, do you want to buy an iPad?
I want to buy an iPad. It says Sad Dad's Club podcast on it, but A, B, C, and D. I got all the way up to F if you want them.
That's right.
They weren't putting anybody on the plane. It was final call. All they do is shoved everyone into this space.
Well, we're talking about a large plane, right? It was a 747 or a 777 or something?
I think it was a 777.
So that's a huge plane. So
it was a biggie. whole bunch
they
of
weren't
people.
actually putting people in the plane?
No.
Oh.
Angie thinks that it had to do with whatever those rules are relative to if something is late or you're delayed relative to your boarding pass getting checked, not necessarily being on the plane.
Oh, weird.
So we all got checked. They had made a final boarding call, but weren't actually boarding the plane. So we sat in this hot mess of people, and Mike behind me like, oh my God, fucking Sweden. Just it was hilarious because we're just like, hey, welcome back to fucking Sweden and Eric. God damn it.
You're all, is this Southwest? What the fuck is going on?
What is this?
Yeah.
Man, it was just a hot mess of Swedes and UKs and USA people, like all just like, and then they opened up one of the doors to allow us onto the walkway, but the plane door wasn't open, so all it did was shoehorn some people into the air walkway.
Yeah.
And then there was this automatic motion closing door
that just
kept going open and close as like
God.
the cattle people got in front of, and then the door would,
So the plane was there.
Yes.
They didn't unload anybody?
It had either been already unloaded and they were doing whatever turnover checks, refueling,
cleaning the cabin.
Yeah, I don't know. And then when we got off, which is funny because I guess that's what the cleaning was, what they could have been doing.
Cleaning up after the Mile High clubs.
I've never been so ashamed as to the people that were coming into America who were probably Americans that left the plane
a mess.
just a shit show.
Yeah.
Like, this is why we can't have nice things.
Absolutely. Although, speaking of that, I just saw an article today that was about a canal in Paris that they drain every some amount of time, and clean it because the water gets really nasty. And the amount of shit that was in this canal, it's like some 8-mile long canal.
Yeah.
The amount of shit that was in this canal was astounding. The things that they find, literally motor scooters, bikes, thousands upon thousands of just bottles, shopping carts.
Sounds like a Jackass Nitrous Circus gone.
Oh, it was insane, and it's got of course it's got silt and stuff in there, so it's all mucky. And
yeah.
But I don't think it's just Americans. I mean, we're talking about in Paris, right?
I think here's where I'll go with that. I think it's urban communities.
You think it's the Americans in Paris,
right? No, I think it's urban communities because we went. The Isle of Man was our first stop. Is essentially a very small island of people when it's not when they're not hosting the race.
Quiet country community,
yes,
right? Yeah.
Yes. Everything was clean.
Yeah.
The city itself, the main cities were clean.
Yeah.
The roads were clean. The highway-ish places were all clean. Nothing looked like 80 or 49, where in the median you might see garbage, or on the shoulders you would see garbage or tires, or there was nothing like that.
Well, do this. Walk around Los Angeles, okay?
Right.
Downtown or anywhere, around Los Angeles that's got people around, and you're going to see graffiti, black gum pieces all over the cigarette butts, garbage. I mean, you name it. You're going to find this all over any place.
Yeah.
And then transport yourself from there directly into the center of Tokyo, which is like seriously one of the biggest cities in the world. Not Mexico City, but I mean, this is a huge city with a big population.
Right.
And it is like astoundingly clean.
Yeah.
Like, you don't find... Everyone there smokes. You never see a cigarette butt on the ground.
Yeah.
You never find gum on the floor. You don't have garbage littering the streets. They just don't do it.
I'm trying to remember. It's funny you mentioned gum. It might have been the train stations at, like, Edinburgh. some place it was like almost like polka dots. Like,
oh yeah.
What are people doing with all the like everything else was clean, but there was like a grotesque amount of gum in like the trains. I'm like, no one sees like everything else was fine. And to the UK, a lot of smokers, but there were a lot of public ashtrays that seemed like they were all getting used.
Yeah.
But I wish I could remember what city, because Venus pointed out too. She's like, "What's with all the fucking gum?"
Well, all these places are way older.
Yeah,
way older than, say, a city like Los Angeles or San Francisco that often smells like fucking piss or shit when you walk around town, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All these cities are way older and are way cleaner than our newer cities that we have here in the U.S.
Yeah.
And just because people are so damn disrespectful.
It was, and I'll say, because I mentioned this in our first run yesterday, and I think I phrased it wrong. I think one of the biggest adjustments for me, it was a culture shock. I think the better words I was looking for was culture shock.
Okay.
Because the American patriot in me, having never been abroad, wants to believe that this is the best land.
I'm an American, damn it, and I'm an American.
And things are best here because of the things and opportunities that we're afforded relative to the liberties that we have.
Yeah.
To go somewhere not in America and see things being done differently and also better was a culture shock. It was like the roads are better maintained.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the heavy urban places. It seemed like people generally had a better outlook on. There was no honking there was no rudeness. Everybody was generally always in any interaction was positive or helpful. It was like going back home or picking up with an old friend that you hadn't spoken to in probably 10 plus years. They weren't your buddy anymore, but they were cordial and they weren't rude or short.
Sure.
And they would hopefully put you in a place. Like everything over there seemed that way. Mm-hmm. Now there were outliers in like the bigger cities like Paris that seemed like, oh, well, this is kind of like back home. Perhaps those type of controls and rules and whatever they've got in place are sliding away. Yeah. And it was like, oh, this is kind of like what it's normally like. But when you got not necessarily out of the really big cities, things just seemed better. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I kind of expected us to be the best. And in some of these places, we were not. And it was like, I got to keep my mouth shut in some instances when you're talking about, roads or the types of cars afforded to people, or whether or not it makes sense that, our cars get, somewhere around 20 to 30 miles to the gallon. But over in the UK, you can get diesels that are getting 60 to 80. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm doing the most for my community and my country by saving gas, but yet I can't get some of these options that are clearly doing more or better for their country by far. It's like, man, I've got some splaining to do,
It's almost like we don't want to take the time or don't care enough. Certain things.
Right.
Or no one wants any more of their tax dollars to be put towards X or Y.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised. I don't know if you've been up 80 recently, but they are repaving 80 right now.
Okay.
So between about Sierra College and going up the hill, maybe to Penryn-ish area, that whole area they've like ground down the road and they're repaving all the lanes.
To Penryn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Roughly. And what's surprising to me is that section of the road wasn't that bad.
Okay.
In my opinion. if you get up past Newcastle, in between Newcastle and Auburn,
Mm-hmm.
that whole section of road up there is like rough as shit. And that really needs to be repaved. I don't understand why they're suddenly doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
what?
Where's the
Yeah,
where's the planning?
Yeah, there are plenty of other highways around that could use
Right.
a paving. If you want to throw some money at them, I don't think Highway 80. Maybe because it's an interstate.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it has money, because it's gotten federal funding. But I mean, I don't understand that at all.
Do you remember when they did the right here at Douglas? I think they widened it. Do you remember that expansion? Because they just put in those new loop-de-loops to get on
80.
Yeah, right over here. I remember reading something in the paper, and it had to do with where they were stopping the construction for the widening and the on-ramps was because it was a county line.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was essentially one county, however they've swung it, had money to refurbish and expand 80.
But the other county
only up to the county line.
Yeah.
And everything after the county line was just like, good luck.
And sometimes it's here's the funds. You either use it or you lose it.
Right.
Right.
And so I'm just like,
And they're like, okay, I guess we use it.
yeah. But, what happens after the you go 4 lanes, you're,
Yeah.
good luck over there on the
Yeah.
other side. Well, now you just, as far as traffic control is concerned, it's now a nightmare
Yeah.
right there. It's like, oh, well, you widened it, and that's good, but the next off-ramp shit that was 65 with all the expansion we've done here in Roseville, now it went 4-3 jam.
Well, that's the other thing, too, is you look at something like the Highway 65 ramp project, which is going to take a couple years to finish.
Right.
But here they're going to repave miles and miles of Highway 80 in a matter of a couple weeks. I mean, literally, they're almost done already.
Are they?
I mean, yeah, they've got a couple lanes to finish, and then they have to like put lines down and stuff. But here we've got an interchange that's going to take a couple years, and they've repaved this giant section of Highway 80 in a matter of like 2.5, 3 weeks. You know what I mean? It's kind of astounding, really.
Yeah.
It wasn't like there was any warning at all. It was just like one morning on my commute, the fast lane was shaved down, and it was like dusty and like rocks from how they had shaved it.
Right.
And it's like, this is kind of what's going on. Yeah. And you're just kind of like, what the hell? Yeah. And then as you start realizing, you start seeing cones down the middle and like a sign, Highway 80. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, where the fuck did this come from?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were no warning signs, or I never saw it. I mean, I'm sure if I was on the Caltrans website, I probably would have noticed
their refurbishment schedule.
Who's fucking on the Caltrans website?
Not me.
Yeah. But I mean, we could do that's one of the big things right now that they're talking about in the political land is all of the crumbling infrastructure stuff.
Right.
That's a big deal. I mean,
it makes me wonder, is there anything to be learned or parsed from how exactly they're leveraging their transportation dollars, right? Because, it still takes money.
Well,
right? So there's still taxes.
I think what the difference is look how big this country is compared to any European country. Right? A European country that's maybe the size of Connecticut or some shit. Or, some medium-sized state.
Yeah.
They don't have nearly the roads that the entire, Germany doesn't have nearly the amount of roads to maintain that the United States has.
Okay.
So from that standpoint, you're talking about how many bridges do we got going over rivers and lakes all over the country.
Right.
Man, funneling money to all that stuff is really difficult. I mean, it's a really big problem.
I would agree. So the scope, you're saying, the scope makes it...
It's daunting.
How do you know?
Because you're talking about all the stuff that's been built over years and, kind of willy-nilly over the years.
Right. So did you see the set of tweets from CJ, hashtag hi CJ, that he had pulled an article about, I think the California state system had been audited for something, and they found 1 point something $billion in like an offshoot slush fund.
Oh, really? No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking you were talking about something else.
And so it was, someone asked for the audit, and they found this
Extra money.
This extra money. So you had like a sort of like a political jab on there that was, why do you have the X amount of, this so much of this money, and yet parking still sucks, or parking fees are so high, or there's not enough parking, and tuition went up, and why? But why is there such a big purse hidden off the books here?
Yeah.
It's Angie and myself and CJ had like a discussion about it, and it was like, well, because Angie had made a point that the slush fund is used on occasion to help students who need financial aid, or and then the CSUS spokesperson had said that they need this kind of fund to cover emergencies, like a emergency fund kind of thing. So there's a need for this space. It didn't account for why it wasn't necessarily on the books. It was like outside the system. So there's accountability there. And there was no mention of, well, why does it have to be that big?
Yeah.
Like, at this point, right, now you've seen what has been seen, so you can't unsee it. So it's like, well, what amount of fluctuations in emergency scenarios and financial aid gaps happen throughout the course of the California State University system that warrant a 1 point something billion dollar slush ball? That wasn't mentioned or accounted for, but now it's like, well, I would like to know. Like, because
so what are they saying was the source of that money? Was it just all the tuition and stuff? Or
I
just
don't think
any revenue whatsoever.
Yeah, it didn't really scope it.
Oh, okay.
So, but so that affords, if you're a student, you're certainly happy with the result of getting like in Angie's case, she needed financial aid. The university system had it. So, but yet, if you're someone that didn't need financial aid, but perhaps saw your tuition go up, you may certainly be just as curious as to, well, why, if there's this much in the bank,
why is the tuition going up at all?
Could that be used to at least stem some of the tuition increase?
Right.
So if we were to apply that with the transportation stuff, it's like, well, now I'm curious. If there are these types of gaps and things, it's like, well, tell me how much of the transportation budget is stagnant versus actually being leveraged for the things that we're paying taxes on gasoline for, taxes and propositions and bills and bonds and whatnot as residents. If there's money being left on the table and like running, just in compound interest or whatever, well, why is that? And is there a way to put it into use? Because who wants more patched whole roads when we should be leveraging
California being the state that pays the most for gas because of taxes.
Yeah.
I don't ever feel like, and not only that, we considering our car registration fees have all gone up.
Right.
I don't feel like we should ever have roads that suck.
I would agree.
We should have some of the best roads in the country, and we certainly don't.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
And I'm not quite sure, because
is it local municipalities that are falling apart? Is it the state? Is it local cities? Is it a county issue? Is it the state problem?
Right.
Where's the breakdown?
Yeah, what happens? But I want to say it was years ago that our transportation system has huge coffers, and for whatever reason, that gets shell gamed to other departments behind the scenes to cover budget shortfalls elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so for a while, I'd always had the concept, well, we could, but for whatever reason, it doesn't get implemented fast enough. So someone, some political appointee says, well, you've got extra money over here. Whoop, and, you get whatever municipality handouts and over there.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, pothole
Uh-huh.
road falls to shit.
Yeah.
We can only repave this of 80, not.
Well, think about the CRV fee where you pay 5 cents per container, right?
Yeah.
When you purchase stuff at the store, that 5 cents per container goes into a fund. And what do they do with that money? Where does it go? Well, the intent of that money is to pay the recycling people back. Well, not enough people recycle to get that CRV money back to get paid back for the CRV that they're outputting. So that pot of money just grows because people just either let their local municipality recycle it or they don't recycle it at all. And so that pot of money just grows. Well, what happens to that money when it gets huge? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's crap like that happens all the time. It's weird.
And we have crap roads.
Why? Why do we have crap roads?
God damn.
If you go to Germany and drive on the Autobahn, which I have not done, but Tony has, he just says the roads are insanely good. They're immaculate.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, Germany's like the size of Texas or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's manageable. It's probably super manageable for the funds that they have based on their tax rate and all that kind of stuff. We're a huge country. We have 50 states that are all dealing with their own funding issues and local municipalities who are all dealing with their own funding issues. And so when you're talking about fixing all of that infrastructure or updating it or whatever, it becomes that's a big deal, right? It's almost overwhelming.
Yeah. Yes. But then if you're not right, I mean,
you got to start somewhere.
The reasonable adult me goes, well, if it's too big, then and you can't figure out what to do with the money, then stop taking my money. Right? Until you figure out a plan.
Yeah.
I wouldn't start taking money from the kids.
Oh, I would.
Without telling.
Your kids especially.
Yeah, you don't deserve this. What are you going to use it for?
Better not tell your dad or you'll get it.
I ain't going to tell you, but I've got a plan. Of what it is, I don't know, but
I'm working on it.
I'm working on it somewhere.
Yeah.
But I need your money right now.
Give it to me.
Yeah.
Taxation without representation is what you're talking about.
And when we see, especially when, like I said, you get over there and you see it looks like someone had a plan and has made someone's tax dollars work.
Yeah.
Regardless of size, it's like...
it's weird too, though.
I thought we had all the bright minds.
It feels like when you visit some of these places, and I was amazed by it. It feels like we always talk about American pride, but it feels like other countries have way more pride in their spaces and things than we do here in the U.S. We're just abusers. We're just users and abusers.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like the ocean, right? Why is the ocean filled with plastic? Because no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
We're all just users and abusers. My daughter is on this huge kick right now about like single-use plastic stuff. Well, it can't. Why does it have plastic on it? Why is this new thing you just bought have plastic all over and you're just going to take the plastic off and throw it away?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, because that's how they package it. But if you want to make an impact, you need to contact that company and complain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, I mean, they've even gone, my wife and her have even gone to using bamboo toothbrushes in like some kind of toothpaste that's in a tube that's recyclable. Oh. That's actually, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, good for you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Absolutely. It's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And, like, that's the other one. me personally, when I go somewhere and have a drink at a restaurant, I don't want a straw. I don't like straws. I typically don't want to use them. I haven't used them for years.
Okay.
And so it was a thing every time we go out. No, I don't need a straw, whatever. And I would kind of catch crap for it. Now, nobody wants to use a straw, and my wife calls them whale killers. And so we're in the car, and I think we had gone to like Dutch Brothers, some shit like that. Well, I'm in the car, and that's kind of a place where it kind of requires a lid.
Yeah, the slosh.
Yeah, something happens, and you're going to spill that all over the car. No, thanks.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, I definitely need a lid and a straw for this. I mean, this is a different kind of situation. And she's like, oh, so you want a whale killer? I'm like, yeah, because if a whale comes up to the car, I'm going to use the straw to fucking kill it.
Right in the,
yeah.
But paper straws. They had paper straws over in the UK.
Yeah, have you used them?
Well, yeah, and
they're a little different.
Well, I had to suck it fast. Hashtag, that's what she said.
Here's what I noticed is that they don't, there's something about them that they're not cold enough. Like a plastic straw will get cold with the ice.
Okay.
The paper straws don't have that same kind of property, and so by the time the liquid comes back up the hot part of the straw, it's not.
I don't know if I paid attention to that.
It has there's a weird thing about it, and there's something about it I just don't care for straws. Period. I just rather would drink it out of the
straight out of the thing. Yeah.
I just want to.
That reminds me. Okay, so same realm.
Yeah.
So they had paper straws.
Yeah.
All their drinks, if we had paper straws, unless it was a small cocktail, which it had a plastic. So the plastic
mini whale killers.
Yeah, plastic utensils were all that like balsa wood, like a compressed wood thing, a popsicle stick.
Okay.
Like a popsicle stick.
Yeah.
So I can't remember where we were, but that got us off on the tangent of like fingernail chalkboard, kind of like heebie-jeebie things that drive people crazy, or like awkward like ticks. Venus can't bite a popsicle, like the wooden utensils.
Oh, really?
It would like just fucking drive her up the wall.
What about scraping it on her tooth?
Oh, good God, no.
That's a no
absolutely
too.
not.
Okay, all right.
So we were picking on each other's like nervous ticks. So God, I'm probably getting beat for this.
Here it comes.
I hadn't noticed this before, but Angie can't sit with her back to the room.
Oh.
In like a place.
Okay, so if she's facing, if you're in a corner and she has to face the wall. She prefers
to eyeball the thing.
Oh, yeah.
So
my wife enjoys that more.
And
too.
then it was, and then I hope she didn't take it hard. We were like, Venus and I were like, ooh, something that like Dragon does this thing.
Dragon, you're not the only one.
Right.
Yeah.
So then as we were like go to sit at other places while we would go out.
You would fill those seats first?
No, we would be like, oh, well, Auntie, do you want to sit here so your back's to the room? Or not to the room? You want to be able, oh, well, Angie's going to want to sit here.
Yeah.
I hope she didn't. But it was funny. We wouldn't let it go.
Yeah.
So then to share
Why
mine.
would you?
To share mine, it was if someone is wearing a hoodie, I have to fix the hood.
Oh, so that it's actually in?
Yes. So it's right side, and I like to square it. I like to square it up and make sure that it's like flat.
Okay. And so this is a thing for you?
Yes.
So what about if it's a stranger? You just?
Oh no,
like,
not stranger. But
okay.
I'll do it to anybody in the house.
Right.
Like if I'm walking past and the kids are getting ready to go to
hoodie
school,
fixing.
And I look back and it's like cockeyed off to the side, or it's like halfway up, I will turn around and like like it's a fucking napkin. I will and like nice and straight. I like a perfed and fluffed hood.
That. That gives me some ideas.
It was. I gotta make sure it's right side, because if you have to flip it up, then you want to be ready.
You know, it's funny because I love hoodies and I hate wearing the hood.
I don't like tight ones. I like a baggy hood.
Let me put it to you this way: the only time that the hood will come up is if it's raining and I'm like going from my car to the office or something like that, or a store.
Yeah,
I'll put the hood up to keep the hair dry. But just normal circumstances, I
But
don't
do you
want it up
prefer
there.
a hoodie to a sweater?
Oh, absolutely.
So how bizarre is that?
I don't know. I like the hood.
I like the weight of the hood.
Yeah.
But oftentimes I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing it up, but if I do wear it up, I prefer a baggy hood over like, that tight sweat pants material one that's like, I'm never cinching it like fucking Kenny.
Yeah.
But I like a baggy.
Yeah.
But generally, I'm not wearing it up. But I don't like a sweater. I like a hoodie, zip or over the head. But I enjoy the weight of the hood. Maybe because it keeps my neck warm?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of one of the things that bug me.
Like a nervous tick thing
Well,
that you do.
Well, no, I mean like the wooden popsicle stick or whatever. Like that stuff doesn't bug me, or fingers on a chalkboard don't bug me.
I can't remember if we covered one of Mike's. I don't remember.
One of the things I don't like is if someone chews like really loud with their mouth open.
We covered that one too.
That bugs me, but that's not like a, oh God, I'm gonna freak out.
That might have been
that
the
one's
same
just
conversation because it was like the gum popping.
Oh God, gum popping.
Like,
yeah. It's like, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
My mom used to do that like crazy.
Yeah.
There's something about the way they chew and it folds over on itself.
I don't need to see that shit.
Oh, dude. But I can't think of any out there. I'll have to think about it.
And they were all funny.
Yeah.
It was just like,
Well, I noticed
dragons are always serving.
Whenever we go somewhere where we're gonna sit down, I'm typically the last one to the table, right?
Yeah.
So Shanna and Melanie will typically fill the seats that face. So I am very often sitting to my back to the rooms where I'm looking at the wall behind them.
Okay.
Very rarely do I ever get to sit where I'm like, oh, I can actually see the people in the room around me. Yeah.
Is it because Shan and Melly like to people watch? Or do they have a back to the room kind of thing?
I don't know. I've never brought it up, but it's very often that it happens. And I never said anything to them about it. I know it happens because I see it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've never brought it up. I should.
You should, just to see.
Oh.
Are you people watching, or are you just...
Can I sit with my back to the wall one time?
Yeah. Daddy would like to do something.
If someone's going to fucking stab me from the back, I want to see him coming at me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I at least deserve that.
But the wall's never going to attack you.
The wall doesn't move.
Although we're in California, so it could be an earthquake.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I agree with that. I feel like I've been very fortunate enough to travel quite a bit, and I've been to some beautiful places around the world, and I always had that impression, like you're saying, that everywhere else has figured it out, and we're just fucking Americans and clueless in our own isolationist place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we just trash what we have here. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Even sometimes like when they closed the government down on that, when Trump decided to close the government, everyone forgets that he did that. And all the national parks got closed down, and people went into like Joshua Tree.
Oh yeah.
And like killed the trees or drove around on the whatever they weren't supposed to. Why would you ever do that?
Yeah.
Where is the respect?
Yeah,
honestly, you wouldn't like, oh, the cemetery's closed, let me go fucking 4-wheel driving around the cemetery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You would never do that. Why would you do that to a national park? I just don't get that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and they're talking about how, oh, it's going to take 400 years for that to recover. You're like, dude.
Was the drive worth it?
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed yourself because you're going to hell.
Yeah.
Or at least I hope you do.
Yeah. A hot burning one. You could come back here and enjoy the garage studio.
Yeah. We'll just put you in a little cage in the garage while it's hot.
Poke at you with sticks.
Yeah.
And a hot mop.
I mean, seriously, man. You're not even over there. You're not even talking about national park stuff. You're just talking about in town.
Yeah.
Just little town areas or the city. It's astounding to me.
I think,
it really is.
Having been there, I think it's important now at some point to make sure that the kids see that.
Yeah, I agree.
Regardless of how they interpret it.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's not my job, but it is my job to get them a chance for the experience.
Yeah.
I think it would be important. Just as important as I thought it was when we went back east for Piper's 8th grade thing, and we saw like the Founding Father stuff and like the national monuments and all of those things are important for American history and important for, I think, kids who are more digitally based to see some of these tangible landmarks, tangible places. Whether or not they take anything from that, that's up to them. But it's, as a parent, it's my responsibility to give them that option to take from the experience.
Yeah.
There was enough things, having been abroad now, for me to say, that's something as a parent I think my kids need to see so that they don't feel like this is it. This experience, as there's a global community that will help make you hopefully a better person.
Yeah.
As long as you take it from it what I did.
Bring back some ideas with you on how
and help to contribute
how to move
here.
forward. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. One thing that I feel is a place that deserves a lot of respect is somewhere like Disneyland.
Okay.
For the number of visitors that place has, that place is pretty immaculate.
Okay.
But I have seen things at Disneyland that I just go, really? And, the parades are a big deal, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone loves to go to the parade, and sometimes finding a place to sit to see the parade is difficult. Well, one time we were trying to find a place to see the parade. The parade was already going on, and we were in front of the castle area. Mm-hmm. This is just an example of what we're talking about. And I look over, and there's the statue of Walt and Mickey holding hands right in front of us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And there is a woman in the planter trampling the flowers around Walt and Mickey statue to get a better view of the goddamn parade going on. I'm like, are you kidding me? You are up in the planter trampling the flowers so you can see the parade. And that kind of shit just blows my mind. It really does.
God, I have a story like that, but we are long.
Oh, okay. That's what she said.
Yeah. Remind me about Porgs next week.
Porgs it is.
Yeah. Because it is a similar experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, hey, thanks for sticking with us for this week
for part B.
For part B, and we appreciate you listening, and we will definitely see you next Wednesday night.
Next Wednesday night, we'll get it right again.
That's right.
For the second time.
For the second time of a 39 show.
It'll be episode 40. We'll have no excuse. We got to get the Big 10.
Pretty much over the hill.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
See you next week.